Now, if you thought you had plenty of options for modulation sources with the envelope section, the LFO section, the very customizable function generator section, and of course the 3 random generators, well, think again, because in Pigments, we get another source here called Combinate. Now, technically, this isn't really a new source because it combines existing modulation sources to create new sources. All right, so let's set this up and check out how it works. I'm going to change the sound here a bit. Let's go for a sawtooth-like shape, and let's modulate the filter cutoff. So I'm going to use Combinate 1 here. All right, so nothing's happening yet. We're in this crossfade mode. So we need to first define a source here. So let's say I'll choose LFO1 here. And in this mod section, I'll choose LFO2. I'm also going to change up LFO2 so it's not exactly the same. I'll make it faster and change the waveform to a square. Alright, going back into Combinate here. Now when the amount is all the way to the left, we're essentially getting source 1, which is LFO1, set to that sine wave shape. And if the amount is all the way to the right, we're getting the square shape. But when it's in the center, we're getting a mix of both. In other words, a crossfade between the two shapes. And you get this really pretty pattern here. You can see the sine wave shape, but you can also see the square shape. Alright, so that's crossfade. Now, we have a variety of other ways to combine the two sources. Sum is one of them. Kind of similar, but slightly different because of the math that is being used here. You can see here source plus mod multiplied by amount. So if I crank this up, it's going to be more exaggerated. So if the amount is all the way down, we just don't get any of the effect. Let's try difference. Same deal here. Crank this up. And now we're getting the difference. It's kind of like an inverted shape. Next we have multiply. This is kind of cool. Totally different shape here. Divide. Completely new shape again. We already checked out crossfade. Let's check out lag next. Now in lag, we don't really have combination of two sources. So you choose one source. I'll choose LFO2 here. It'll make more sense with LFO2. Let's set the amount all the way down. You can clearly see that's the square wave. As I increase this, we start to introduce lag, or we start to smooth the edges of that modulator. And it's no longer a square shape, it's kind of got this fin-like shape. Alright, so that's lag. Next has threshold. This is kind of interesting. Let's switch back to LFO1 here. So firstly, it's not bipolar anymore, so the signal never drops below the zero crossing. Now let's see how this works. I'll increase the amount here. Think of this amount as the actual threshold value. So if I set it to this point, which is this line over here, if the source signal goes above it, then it's used, but if it drops below it, it's not being used, and this value is used instead. If I push it further, again, we're stuck over here mostly, but whenever the signal crosses this line, we get to see it work. Alright, so that's threshold. Next we have offset. So right now we have an LFO that's entirely bipolar. If I increase this amount, we've essentially made this a unipolar signal. Right, so just offsetting that entire bipolar signal more to the positive side. Next we have remap. This is very cool. So we can basically bend or curve the shape in interesting ways. So if I create a bend like this, I can also click to create additional breakpoints and really transform that shape entirely. So there you go, a variety of different ways to combine existing modulators or use maybe just one modulator and affect it in a unique way to create a new modulation source. And of course, you get 3 of these. Alright, in the next tutorial, we'll check out the keyboard section.